Welcome to Forensic Friday.
Where we examine the intersection of true crime, psychology, and the heart of being human in the middle of it all. Hello.
Hi.
So, you know how I connected with that gal on Instagram?
Yes.
We'll have to tag her. We'll do a post and tag her. Her stuff is so good. And she's one of my
Mhm.
favorite therapist content creators because I find her stuff to be scarily accurate. And what she'll do is she'll do new therapist versus seasoned, experienced
Yeah.
therapist and
Yeah.
how they deal with different things.
Yeah.
So I connected with her on Instagram because she thanked me for sharing one of her stories. And we were kind of texting or messaging. I don't know, I'm 100 years old. We were DMing each other back and forth. Did I get it right now? Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Look at me go.
Yep.
Um, about just our work and what we love about it. And I told her about the podcast and whatever. But one of the things that she shared in one of her stories was just kind of this concept of what goes on in our brains about our clients all day long. Because I think clients go one of two ways. They either think, how do you do this all day and just listen to all of these stories?
Mhm.
Or they think this is just a transaction. It's all about the money. I'm in your office, I'm out of your office, and whatever.
Yeah.
And really, it's not either of those things. It's somewhere
No.
in the middle.
I've had clients actually ask me, how do you do this all day?
Oh, I've had, I think most of them wonder.
Yeah.
And they kind of picture us listening to like sad stories all day and going home and being sad, and it's not like that.
Mm-mm.
But what do you wish your clients knew, Nat, about your not just thought process in the room? I think we'll talk about that in a bit, but like, what do you wish they knew about how you see them and how you experience therapy?
The first question of how I see them, that's an interesting question. I think, and I actually tell them this pretty often, especially if this type of topic comes up, because I've had people ask, like,
Mm-hmm.
how do you just sit and listen to sad stuff all day, or
Mm-hmm.
people being pissed off, or whatever, or couples arguing? And so I'll tell them, like, I actually feel really lucky that I get to sit in that space with them, because not everyone has those resources. And what I mean by resources could be not everyone has, the financial ability to go to therapy, or they aren't there, there's a fear there, that's also resources to be courageous.
Right.
um and so I tell them, I actually feel really lucky to be able to sit with them in
Mm.
the things that are causing them pain and joy, because sometimes they come in and they're like, I had such a big win, and we get to process that. But yeah, I think I would like I want them to know this, but I already tell them,
Right.
so that's what I want them to know, is that I actually feel blessed that I get to be a part of their journey.
So maybe it's what we want our listeners to know, because I think you and I are trained and just naturally are really immediate with our clients. We tell them things. We don't,
Yeah.
I am in no way a blank slate therapist. I don't even know what that looks like. I have no interest in that.
No.
There are therapists who do that exceptionally well. Psychodynamic therapists do that really well. That's not me. I could never be that in 100 years. I
Mm-mm.
wear way too much on my face, on my sleeves.
I know. I was gonna say no
All
one
that.
can. Everyone's always like, your face, Natalie. I'm like,
Oh
sorry.
yeah. Yeah, I mean your face, it just doesn't lie. We
Mm-mm.
were on Zoom. Nat dialed into one of the groups a couple weeks ago because we had a facilitator in the room and Nat joined. And it was hilarious because they could see literally on her face on a screen that she had an issue with something somebody said. It was hilarious. And the whole group was like, oh, Nat's got something to say.
Yeah,
But
that
maybe
was
it's
that was funny.
more instead of what we wish our clients knew, because we do tell them, although I don't think our clients know how much we think about them, and not in a creepy way, but in a, oh gosh, I'll think of them when I see a movie preview because of something we've talked about, or I'll see a book, a resource. I'm like, oh my gosh, this would be so great for XYZ. I think about these
Mhm.
things all the time,
Yeah.
but I wish they knew how much we carry them with us. I mean, it's a type of friendship, not a reciprocal friendship, not,
Mhm.
a friend with a copay, which one of my clients called me one time, which was hysterical. And also, that's not the vibe. We don't want,
And
that's
then
not
you're like, I actually now need to refer you out because that's how
exactly.
you
Yeah,
treat
that's not the
me.
vibe we're going for. We need to be working on things.
Yep.
But it is sort of it's a type of a professional relationship.
Hmm.
And unless you are soulless, you're gonna carry parts of everybody that you've seen
Oh
with.
yeah. I mean, there's clients that I saw when I was in my freaking practicum
Mm-hmm.
that I still think about. And that was when I was like 25.
Yes. And it's akin to like a medical. I actually think we are the most similar to hairstylists, to be frank, because there's like a cadence. The
Yeah.
difference is we see our people like every week. So
Mhm.
it's more than medical, it's more than hairstylist, it's more than attorney, it's more than these
Hmm.
other professional services. Like we are in your business
Hmm.
every week, every other week, and we really do go through it with you.
Hmm.
I'll
And I
be,
will say, I don't know if this is appropriate to say, but it came to my head. Hairstylists make more money than we do. So
oh, absolutely.
just gonna say,
Oh, yeah. No, listen, you're a therapist. I'm just telling you, even in private practice, you may think you are just paying an arm and a leg, and maybe you are. Maybe you're paying $300, $400 an hour. I don't know. Do you? Mine's $250 an hour, worth every penny.
yeah.
But we are not well paid, but we are really fulfilled in ways that I don't think a lot of people are in their careers, period. And I'm here for it. Like when I think about the end of my life, I'm really happy that I get to do this. It's a life well spent. That's what I'll
Yeah.
say. It feels like a life well spent.
When it's fulfilling, like
Mm-hmm.
I get to show up. And there is something to be said about, because we have our own crap too, and I'm sure that's going to
Mm-hmm.
be a question that we cover. But, there is something to be said about showing up for other people and getting out of your own head and trying to put yourself in someone else's shoes to help understand what they're going through and then navigate it with them. Like that's the fun part for me. And fun's maybe a relative term, but it's more of like it helps me put things into perspective for myself,
Mm,
like on a personal level. Yeah, it's like you're doing life with someone, and thankfully we have the tools and the education to provide professional guidance in some of that,
yes.
you
Well,
know?
another question that I had, Nat, was kind of the behind the scenes of therapy. So
Hmm.
Nat and I've worked together so long, we have metaphors for things. And one of our metaphors is, or like shortcuts. It's a metaphor, but also a shortcut. Chess and checkers.
Hmm.
So if we're playing checkers, it's like this lower level thing with somebody. It's like the basic layer. Chess is a little bit more complex. So when we're in a room with somebody, it's checkers to a degree. Like we are the presence is the checkers part. We're on this level. We're connecting with you. We're fully present. We care about what you're saying. Then there's also chess going on in our head where we're thinking, oh gosh, there's something deeper under what they're saying, or I'm curious about something, or I'm wondering if this relationship will go in XYZ direction and that might land on something helpful.
Hmm.
What's your chess like in a room with somebody? What's going on in your head that your client probably doesn't know?
Well, I feel like I'm trying slash sometimes I'm successful at being like a few steps ahead
Yeah.
of where they're at. And so I don't want to just give them the answers that I have because my answers might not actually be helpful for them.
Or as good.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
helping navigate them to in a direction,
Hmm.
but sometimes I'm like trying to think, if they're talking to me about a toxic relationship, right? I'm like sitting there and I don't want to say run for the hills, so I will ask questions that not necessarily guides them to that because that feels a little manipulative, but
Yeah.
that are open-ended to really think about, right? And that's part of it is like
Mhm.
thinking of questions that are not based out of manipulation to get someone to see what I see or what I think, but to actually help them open their perspective of what this could look like either way. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense.
So that's kind of the chess game I play in my head of how do I approach this in a way that's neutral enough
Mm-hmm.
and also helpful enough
Mm-hmm.
to get them to think.
Yes. Well, and I think there's a behind the scenes prep that goes into it that clients don't see where before the person comes in, sometimes in the walk from the waiting room to my office,
Hmm.
I'm taking stock of a lot of things. Some of my clients, my couples in particular, I know based on how they're sitting in the waiting room what kind of session this is going to be.
Oh my
I
gosh,
can
same.
feel it, I can see it, right? But I'm conceptualizing before the session, walking back to the room, in the
Mm-hmm.
how are you? It's
Hmm.
all coming together all the way in. And
Yeah.
then in the moment, and then after. And one of the things when you think about like empathy, one of the things that comes up for me as a therapist is we feel with you. That's empathy. So if you're sharing your trauma, I don't care how seasoned of a therapist you are. I'm going to feel that with you. And if I ever can't, it's time to make a change. I'm either burned out or I need to move on and do something else. We feel with you. We get mad with you.
Mm-hmm.
We get sad with you. We get protective with you. We feel sick when you feel sick, when you're talking about awful things that have happened to you. So we're very much in it with you, probably more than people realize.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree? What I think they don't understand because they haven't had the training is we can switch gears and do it for the next person too.
Yep.
With enough experience, we can put it somewhere in our brain and the next
Yep.
person walks down the hall and it's a reset.
Yes. Well, and it's help like, everyone has a different story. And so even if someone's story is similar, like you said, we're trained to do this, but also I think a lot of therapists have like a natural ability to just be able to switch gears
Yes.
and be present. And that's part of I think what calls some of us to the work is some of that gifting.
Oh yeah. Well, and I love, 99% of our clients, right? So I would say our clients probably don't know how much we look forward to seeing them. So when I look at my calendar for the week, or when I'm on my way to work and I'm looking through my day, I'm excited to see you. I
Yep.
I see your name in my calendar and I'm like, "Oh,
Yep.
that's my girl. I want to know what's
Yep.
this and this and this."
Yep.
Or maybe it's a couple. It's like, "Oh man, the
Here we
in-laws
go.
town. Here we go."
Yep.
Just
Yep.
either way.
Well, and it's like, there's y'all's lives, we like are excited to hear
We're
updates.
invested. We are invested.
Yes. Like I have my people where I'm like, I'll tell some of my people if they have something big coming up and I don't see them for like a week or two, I'll tell them you just have to email me. You have to tell me how this went because I have to know.
Oh, same. I've done that before. Absolutely. And the thing too is even with the clients that, okay, maybe they're harder to work with, maybe they're not invested yet, maybe especially in the forensic realm, maybe they are really angry that they have to be there. The thing that we work so hard on is called unconditional positive regard, which means no matter how you show up, I'm going to find a way to hold a healthy, positive space for you.
Hmm.
We've talked about this before on the pod. That might be I like that you're strong. I like that you'll say your opinion. I like that
Hmm.
you didn't yell at me today. That's an improvement. Yay.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm going to find something genuinely positive to land on,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yeah. I stole something from you with couples. I don't do it with all my couples, but I do it with my some of my spicier couples where I'll make them high five at the end and say thank you for showing up.
Oh, yeah, I do that all the time. Yeah.
And that's so helpful. And y'all, I do that. I
Hmm.
don't tell my couples why I do this, but if you listen to our podcast and you're one of the couples that I work with, I do that because it shifts something in you to laugh a little.
It really does.
And it's
Yes.
just helpful. And it's helpful for me too, actually. Selfishly, I'm like, we're not walking out of this room
Yep.
hating each other. We might still kind of hate each other, but at least you guys can still high five on, the command of your therapist.
We are in this place in our careers, Nat, where we can suggest something and it's rooted in good
Yeah.
fundamentals, but we don't know why we're saying the thing. There was no thought to it except that it felt good.
Hmm.
When I sat with it, I'm like, of course it feels good. It's physical connection without being intimate. It's
Hmm.
grounding. It's positive. It's light. It
Hmm.
shifts the focus. It's
Yep.
good for all the reasons we knew it would be good, but that's not why I did it in the first place.
Nope.
And that's kind of fun too to see those things come together.
Yeah. Yep.
Or like we had the idea a couple weeks ago to have people share in our domestic violence groups one sentence summary of what they did.
Oh my
And it
gosh.
was so cool. I've never
I
thought of
know.
that. In 10 years, I never thought of it. It's
Yeah.
freaking genius.
Oh, I know.
Don't know how we didn't think of it ahead of time, but it's so great because it peels back all the crap, justification, minimization, shame. It peels it all back to just a physical action and it gives us something to work with. And
Yep.
I mean, I'll do it for the rest of my life now,
Yep. Yep.
you know? Last
Hmm.
question that I want to cover today, Nat.
Okay.
Like on social media where they have things I wouldn't do as an ER doctor, right? Or
Yeah.
things I wouldn't do as a pediatrician. And it's meant to give you ideas of what to do and not do from
Hmm.
an expert who hears things all the time.
Hmm.
What will you never do as a therapist? And particularly a forensic therapist, because I think our exposure
Hmm.
is the same and different from other therapists.
Hmm. Well, are we gonna name the obvious ones or are those just assumed?
You can name some. I don't know what's obvious to everyone. So I'm good with obvious and other. Knowing what you know as a therapist, what would you
Hmm.
never do in your life, in your day-to-day life, because of what you know?
Like what I wouldn't do based on what I've learned from my clients?
Yeah.
Oh
Let me give
gosh.
you an example because I'm kind of throwing this at you. And you
Yeah.
haven't seen the TikToks I've seen. Okay.
Yeah, no, we have different algorithms.
Having run DUI classes, I will never ever drive after 12:05 p.m. Period. I just won't do
Yes.
I
Okay.
just won't, I'm not going to do it. You can come to
Okay.
my house or you cannot see me.
Yeah.
Now, my dad really had that value with me when I was a teenager. He didn't fully tell me. I mean, he said like people drink and drive and whatever, but now running DUI classes and having people say, "Oh yeah, I drove drunk like 400 times before I got caught." Oh my gosh, I would never do it. Ever, ever, ever. I would never shut a bar down and drive home. I would never.
Hmm.
Absolutely never. And Mac will never.
Yeah, that's a good one. I wish I could say that I would never drive home after midnight, but I have. I don't like doing it now.
Mm-mm.
Um, Especially like during pregnancy and with kiddos and whatever.
Oh, your life's about to change, baby, anyway.
Well, yeah. So I mean, now I'm like, there's no way.
Mm-mm.
I'm home by like 10. Okay, so let me think. I will never take someone's phone from them.
Yes, ma'am. We don't want a DV charge over here.
No, I will never take someone's phone from them.
Mm-mm.
Um, because that can get you a DV.
Yeah.
Ooh, this one's really hard, and a lot of our people get really mad about it.
Yeah.
Well, especially our forensic people, because it happens.
Yep.
I will not put myself in the way of someone leaving, even if they're drunk and they're driving,
That's right.
because that could also get you a DV charge.
Yeah, if it's with your partner, absolutely.
Yep. I think even with like a friend, it could be false imprisonment. It just wouldn't be DV.
Yes. I think people don't realize how close we are to a charge kind of all the time.
Hmm.
So knowing what I know now, I live a lot more aware. And
Hmm.
I also don't abuse drugs or alcohol for that reason too, because I've just seen too much stuff. I think once you see it's like riding a motorcycle with no helmet. If you're a doctor, it's like you've seen too much. Like you hit a point where you've seen enough head injuries, you've seen enough issues that you just don't mess with it.
Yep.
I think relationally, being a domestic violence therapist, I just there's just some things I would never ever do. And I think when you mix alcohol in a relationship, you run risks anyway of saying things you don't want to say, doing things you don't
Yep.
mean to do. But
Yep.
especially in a conflicted relationship,
Yep.
if you're drinking, you're just asking for trouble,
Hmm.
So make your own choices, people, but I wouldn't do it.
Hmm.
Would
Yeah.
not do it. I wouldn't have
Yeah.
a house without a security system, or at least as valuable as a security system is a sticker or a sign out front that says you have a security system.
Mhm.
Most criminals are opportunists. And so if you make it even a tiny bit more difficult than the next house, they will
Mhm.
not target your house.
Yep. I actually had a high school friend. She was on the dance team with me. I think it might have, I can't remember if it happened in high school or like beginning of college, but she was a high school friend. And her family, her parents' house got broken into, and the freaking person, whoever broke in, left a note saying, if you had these things in place,
Yep.
this wouldn't have happened. And that was one of them. They said a security
Mhm.
system or even just a sticker
Yep.
or even a dog or something to prevent this from happening. I'm like, you jackwagon. Like you break into their house, steal their crap, and then tell them how to not have this happen again.
Maybe there was some conscience there. Not enough to put the stuff back, but enough to like leave a FYI.
I know. I feel like, I'm like, okay, cool. Thanks for the tips, but
See, I'm a weirdo because, well, you are too. You're the same kind of weird. I will read articles about, what they've learned from criminals or when criminals consult on a case. That's where I know the security system thing from and from lived experience. But when I have my parents' 120-pound German Shepherd at my house, I mean, it's a horse. It looks like a dire wolf from what's that show? Game of Thrones. Looks like a dire wolf from Game of Thrones. She's terrifying looking. And she hates everyone who's not my parents or other people of our family or the neighbors. She just doesn't like people. She doesn't mess with people. She's very protective of my son. When we have her in the house, girl, I still lock the door, but I wouldn't have to. Nobody's gonna mess with that dog.
Mhm.
Nobody. The bark alone, you can hear it outside up the street. So there is something to be said for protecting your space in a
Oh,
way
for
that it
sure.
just don't leave your car doors unlocked. If you have your computer in your car, don't put it on the seat. It doesn't mean you can't leave it in the car, but put it under the car or under the seat and lock the door and they're less likely to go in there. But if you leave something sitting there, you're just asking for trouble or if you leave your door unlocked. So
I
not to
get
victim blame, but like put a barrier there of some sort.
right,
At
right.
least lock your door.
I even get nervous having my I know we said we weren't going to talk about this, but oh well. I have at this point in time when this airs, I will hopefully have given birth. At
Yes.
this in this moment, I have not yet.
Yes.
And I get nervous even having my hospital bag on my seat. I'm like,
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
they'll be very disappointed when they see what's in there. But I'm
Granny
like,
panties, padsicles. Knock yourself
literally,
out, brother.
yeah, hospital gowns. Um, have fun. I hope your
Fun.
partner's pregnant because that'll be actually really
I mean,
beneficial.
you got a couple bows, probably not your
Yeah,
size.
literally. Um, but I even get nervous with that because I'm like, well, if they break the car window,
Yeah.
that's more expensive than anything in that bag.
Yes. No, but it's the truth.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
especially, and I would say this is true more so even in my past work with drug court, but also even South End of Denver, working with people, working with gang members in Aurora, some of that kind of work.
Hmm.
I know where people are selling what to who. When I started to put all of those pieces together, I was like, oh my gosh. Like, sorry, not sorry. Highlands Ranch parents, like, get it together, man. There's a lot of shit going down over there. And y'all don't know. I went to a couple of the schools when I was in private practice, and I was told, we just don't have drugs down here. That's just not a thing that we deal with, blah, blah, blah.
Worse in the rich areas.
Oh my gosh, that's funny because I talked to somebody who works in your area a
Hmm.
couple weeks ago. So,
Well, you know what's funny is my husband has occasionally accidentally left the garage open at night.
they know this. I know this.
I know. And no one has thankfully come into our space, but we don't live in the best area.
Mm-mm.
And so people aren't really looking in our neighborhood.
Yep. Yep.
So they actually target Highlands Ranch,
Oh,
all those
yeah.
nicer areas way more than we're going to be targeted.
Oh, absolutely.
So food for thought for people.
Food for thought. And just I think anytime you think it's not you, there's a couple things you need to understand. First of all, no one is immune
No.
to bad behavior. No place is perfectly safe. And
Mm-hmm.
so part of like what I would give people in terms of things I'll never do as a therapist is just be unaware. I think I'm just aware. I don't do dumb stuff like fiddle around with my phone with my headphones on, walk into my car.
Mm-hmm.
There's just things that we do differently because of the things that we know. And I would say you could boil it all down to situational awareness,
Mm-hmm.
paying attention to security, and having good people in your life, particularly who you're in an intimate relationship with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Those are the things as a therapist that we know,
Yep.
right?
Yeah. Well, thank you for those questions. Those are fun.
I know, aren't they kind of fun? So I'll
Yeah.
collect some for next time too. But
Cool.
I hope you guys know a little more about what your therapist is thinking, and we will
Yep.
see you next time.
As always.
Bye, forensic friends. I'm Jeannine.
And I'm Nat.
And as always, thanks for listening and join us next week for more crime, psychology, and heart.